I'm Nathan Jones, and I'm doing my final for Miss Stewart's AP Lit class. And my final is over stopping by woods on a snowy evening. And so, beginning talking about the poem, the one thing that stood out to me a lot was the title. And the title reviews the play, setting, and theme. And the place of the poem is a wooded, snowy area. The theme of the poem that I took from the title is stopping to reflect back on life, which I think Robert Frost believes is very important for not only readers but all people to do. And then the setting, of course, it's kind of dark because it's evening, and then it's cold because of the snow. And so, beginning talking about the first stanza. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. And so, in the first line of the first stanza, Robert Frost is talking about these woods that he's seen. And I believe that these woods kind of represent confusion that he may be feeling. And then when you read the first line, whose woods these are, I think I know, the words are kind of jumbled up. Usually, a person would say, I think I know whose woods these are, but rather, Robert Frost is saying, whose woods these are, I think I know. And that's one reason I feel that he is somewhat confused, and it ties with the woods being his confusion. Because woods, when you're in there, there's no clear path to follow, so he's kind of confused where he is supposed to go. So then, his house is in the village, though. And then I believe that the village is the symbol for all his duties that he must take care of, responsibilities, and other things like that. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. And so Frost goes into talking third person, I believe, and he's looking at himself. And so he's talking about the snow filling up these woods. And the woods are, again, his confusion that he's feeling. And then the snow is the things that are confusing him. I'm not really sure what it could be, but that's what I believe that's the snow represents. And so going into the second stanza, my little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So he has this horse that he brought along with him to these woods, and the horse itself is confused about where he's at because he should be at a farmhouse, but he's not. So, like Robert Frost being confused, this horse is also confused. And then, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. So, the woods again are the confusion that he is feeling. But then he's also trapped between this frozen lake. And now, this frozen lake could mean a lot of things. But I believe that this frozen lake represents kind of death because imagine standing above a frozen lake. When you look down, it's dark, and then also a frozen lake is going to be cold. And when we tie death, when we think of death, it's usually dark and cold. So I believe that that's what he's getting at when he's talking about a frozen lake. And then the darkest evening of the year. So this could be a moral feeling that he's not happy and he is depressed. And that's what I'm getting from the last line of the second stanza. So at the beginning of the third stanza, he gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. So on the third line of the third stanza, he says the only other sounds the sweep. So the only thing he is hearing is the sweeping of the wind and the flakes falling. So Robert Frost must be alone because these noises are really quiet. So for him to be able to hear this, he must be alone. And that's what I take from this is that he's telling us that he is alone. And so the last stanza, the woods are lovely, dark and deep. And so it's kind of weird that he says that these woods are lovely when they're kind of his confusion and he's not happy about it. But I believe that there are two woods that he's talking about. And now these woods that he's talking about is the freedom that he's feeling within these woods. But then also they're dark and deep, which is why that's his confusion. So it can mean both, and that's what I believe he wants us to feel. But I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Before talking about the last two lines, I want to talk about the line above those two. But I have promises to keep. So throughout the poem, you feel as if Robert Frost is depressed and he's not content with life anymore. And possibly he wants to die. So this could be a suicide note. I don't believe it is, but it could be. But he's writing about his depression. And so he, I guess, wishes to die, but he realizes that he has these responsibilities that he has to take care of. So he's not allowed to let himself die. So then the last two lines, in miles to go before I sleep, in miles to go before I sleep. So he repeats these last two lines, and I believe the reason he does this is to emphasize the importance of what these lines are. And then what they mean is he's talking about death, and he has a while before he's able to let himself die because, like he says in the line before that, he has these promises he needs to keep. So he's not allowed to let himself die until he has taken care of these promises, which are the duties that he has to take care of. And so, to tie up the whole poem, I believe that the whole time he's talking about this depression that he is feeling. But towards the end of the poem, he realizes that there are these important things that he has to take care of before he's able to fall asleep or die. And so his message here is that there are important things to do before allowing depression to take over you. And I think that's very important for us to know. But that is my review of the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Thank you.